My aunt said, "We didn't include you because you're childless. This trip is for real moms." So I booked a solo vacation in the same resort. Every morning, I waved from the presidential suite. I was standing at the baggage carousel in Punta Cana, hands still trembling from the flight, when I saw them. My Aunt Karen, 52, the family matriarch and certified professional in backhanded compliments. Her three daughters, my cousins Lauren, 31, Jessica, 29, and Emma, 27, all with their perfectly curated matching beach hats, oversized sunglasses, and those nauseating #MomSquad tote bags. They didn't see me. Not yet. I pulled my suitcase off the belt and reminded myself to breathe. I wasn't here to start anything, just to exist, boldly, in the space they told me I didn't belong. See, a week ago, I wasn't invited. Or rather, I was very much uninvited, and not in a passive, "oh, maybe you didn't get the memo" kind of way. Number Karen looked me straight in the eye at my cousin Lauren's baby shower and said, "We didn't include you because you're childless. This trip is for real moms." Real moms. Like the miscarriages I had at 33 and 35 didn't count. Like my hysterectomy at 36 after complications from fibroids erased my chances of ever carrying. Like the goddamn grief I carry in my ribs every time I see a stroller or hear a baby laugh. That didn't count. What I said in the moment was nothing. I stood there stunned, blinking at her while she clinked her mimosa glass against Lauren's and walked away. My chest hollowed out like it had been scooped with a soup spoon. Jessica gave me this little shrug like, "Don't make a scene," and I could feel my face going hot. I left without saying goodbye. That was last Saturday. By Monday, I'd booked the same resort. Same dates, except I upgraded to the presidential suite, paid in full. Solo. Let them sip mojitos by the pool like they invented motherhood. I'd be on the balcony, alone, unapologetic and visible. I hadn't told anyone, not even my sister, who's been trying to keep the peace in our war zone family since we were kids, and Karen blamed me for spilling grape juice on the couch. It was Jessica. Now, I watched from across the airport as they laughed, wheeled their matching rose gold luggage, and posed for selfies before hopping in the shuttle van. Their noise was unmistakable. I waited for the next shuttle. I wanted the sweet reveal to happen organically, and boy, did it. The next morning, I stepped out on the balcony in my robe, coffee in hand, overlooking the infinity pool like the dramatic rich widow in every soap opera. The suite was massive. 2 bedrooms, private terrace, plunge pool, and a personal concierge named Maribel, who insisted I try the fresh papaya juice. And just as I leaned on the railing, I saw them below. Karen spotted me first. She squinted up into the sunlight, her eyes narrowing when she realized who I was. I lifted my coffee cup, gave her the smallest, shadiest wave I could muster. Jessica gasped. Emma pointed. Lauren whispered something, and Karen's smile twisted into something sour. I didn't smile back. I just turned and walked inside, slowly, like I had all the time in the world. Because I did. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was on the outside of something. I was something. This wasn't just a vacation anymore, and it was a reckoning. By noon that day, they'd found me. I was lounging poolside with a book I wasn't really reading, more performing, when Lauren came over with that nervous princess walk she does, where her flip-flops barely touch the ground like she's afraid of being too present. She sat on the edge of my chaise, didn't even ask, just plopped down and immediately said, "Aunt Karen didn't mean it like that, you know." I closed the book, took a long, slow sip of my piña colada, let the silence stretch. "She meant it exactly like that," I said finally. Lauren looked around like we were being filmed. "Okay, but it's just, this trip was supposed to be a mom bonding thing, and it got complicated when Aunt Karen started planning it. You know how she is." "I do. That's why I booked my own room," I said. "Presidential suite, by the way. Amazing view." She flinched at the word presidential. Good. Lauren looked like she wanted to say more, but instead she fidgeted with her bracelets. "Jessica thinks you're trying to make a point." "I am," and I left it at that. I could feel the heat coming off her, not from the sun, from embarrassment. Shame, maybe. Guilt if I was lucky, but mostly discomfort. And people like Karen and her daughters don't do well with discomfort. They outsource it. Sure enough, that night at dinner, it exploded. The resort has this open-air restaurant where the tables overlook the ocean. I'd made a reservation for one. Candlelit. White wine. I wore this flowy red dress that made me feel like I should be breaking hearts in Italy. Halfway through my grilled mahi-mahi, I heard it. "Oh my God!" Jessica's voice, shrill and echoing across the terrace. "You're seriously doing this? Alone?" I looked up. The whole table, Karen, Lauren, Emma, and Jessica, were staring at me from across the restaurant. Jessica had a margarita in one hand and the rage of someone who's used to being the center of attention in the other. Karen stood next. She marched toward my table like a mom about to demand to speak to the manager of my existence. "You just had to make this about you, didn't you?" she hissed. I set my fork down. I didn't invite myself on your trip, Karen. I planned my own. This was supposed to be a special time for mothers, she snapped. I leaned forward. And you decided I don't count. You don't have kids, she said, loud enough that people turned. Not for lack of trying, I said, and I didn't whisper it. The table went silent. Karen blinked like she'd been slapped. Jessica gasped. Lauren covered her mouth. Emma suddenly found her cocktail fascinating. Karen opened her mouth, but I cut her off. You think being a mom is about having stretch marks and a baby Bjorn? Let me tell you something. I have mothered friends through breakdowns. I have helped raise godchildren. I have held the hands of women in fertility clinics and at grave sites. You don't know anything about what I've survived. Karen's face twisted. This isn't the time or place. No, I said. The time was when you made sure I wasn't invited. The waiter appeared, bless his heart, holding my dessert. I looked up at him, smiled, and said, perfect timing. Karen stormed off. Jessica followed, heels clacking with performative outrage. Lauren stayed frozen at their table, eyes glassy. Emma just mouthed, I'm sorry, across the room. I finished my dessert. It was molten chocolate cake. It tasted like victory, but something had shifted. This wasn't just about a trip anymore. It was about every time they made me feel like a shadow at someone else's spotlight. And I wasn't done. The next morning, I found sunscreen smeared across my door handle. Thick, greasy, white goop, like someone had emptied half the bottle and rubbed it into every crevice of the doorknob. My robe sleeve got stained before I realized what was happening. Classy move, Jessica. I stood there for a minute, breathing through the sudden spike of rage in my chest. The suite's balcony doors faced the pool. I stepped out, and there she was, Jessica, lounging near the edge, fake laughing way too loud with Emma. She looked up and saw me, held my gaze, smirked. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just petty anymore. This was war. I took a picture of the doorknob. Maribel, the concierge, came up 10 minutes later with a cleaning crew and a stunned expression. She offered to move me to a new suite. I declined. I told her I wanted them to see me there, every day. Because here's the thing about people like Jessica. They can't handle not being the center of attention. And when they can't control the narrative, they try to destroy it. So I changed tactics. No more passive existence. I leaned into the drama, booked a private beach dinner, hired a photographer for a solo shoot, rented the cabana they were too cheap to splurge on. Every move I made was loud, visible, and infused with the kind of joyful defiance that makes people like Karen itch under their skin. That night, as I returned to my room, I heard whispering outside my door. I stopped, listened. She thinks she's better than us, Jessica hissed. She's making everything about herself, Karen replied. As always. Then Lauren, barely audible. You did say some messed up stuff though, Mom. Pause. Karen's voice went sharp. Don't start. You know how dramatic she gets. Always playing the victim. I swung the door open. All three of them jumped. Evening, I said, sweet as poison. Jessica scoffed. We were just spreading sunscreen, I said. Or lies. Karen stepped forward, that practiced expression of maternal concern plastered on her face. We just wanted to clear the air, talk things out, outside my room, in whispers. You've made this trip really tense for everyone, she said, eyes narrowing. This was supposed to be a celebration of motherhood, and I'm supposed to be grateful you let me breathe the same air? Karen's voice rose. You're twisting everything I said. You know I didn't mean to hurt you. You didn't have to mean it, I said. You said it. Then Jessica pushed past Karen, stepped right up to me, eyes blazing. You're so self-righteous. You think you're better because you booked some fancy room and made a scene in a restaurant? No, I said calmly. I think I deserve to exist. That seems to offend you. And that's when she shoved me, full hand, into my shoulder. Not hard enough to knock me over, just enough to say, I can still get to you. But I didn't flinch. I just stepped back and said, security it is then. Jessica's face went pale. You wouldn't. Oh, honey, I said, pulling out my phone. You're not just getting sunscreen on my handle anymore. You're putting your hands on me. They scattered like roaches. I didn't call security. Not yet. But they didn't know that. Let them stew. Let them wonder. Let them sweat. Because I was done defending my worth. Now, I was going to make damn sure they remembered it. I woke up to my phone buzzing nonstop. Missed calls, unknown numbers, a few blocked voicemails that only played static and background muttering. Then I opened Instagram. And there it was. A photo of me from the resort restaurant. Not flattering, mid-bite, clearly zoomed in. Captioned, some people just can't stand to see others happy. Pray for the bitter ones. Mom Squad, Unbothered Queen. Posted by Jessica and shared by Emma. With Karen in the comments, we tried to include everyone. Some people just want to be miserable. That one cracked me open. It wasn't just petty anymore. This was a public smear campaign. A digital middle finger with passive-aggressive glitter. I felt the old pain rear up. The kind that tells you to just lie down. Let them have the narrative. Let them win. I almost deleted the app. Then I remembered who I was now. I called Maribel. Is the rooftop bar still available for private events tonight? she gasped. It is, but only for guests in presidential suites. Perfect. That evening, I dressed to kill. Deep green silk dress, hair curled, eyes sharp. I looked like a damn Bond villain on her day off. I booked a saxophonist, ordered champagne, asked the resort photographer to swing by. I didn't invite them, but I knew they'd see. And oh, they did. Around 9 p.m., Jessica stumbled onto the rooftop with Emma, probably saw the music on stories and couldn't resist. Karen followed behind, already on her second glass of wine, judging by the wobble in her wedge heels. They stopped cold at the entrance. I was posing for a photo at the edge of the terrace, city lights behind me, flute of champagne raised like a toast to their irrelevance. Jessica beelined over. What the hell is this? She spat. You throwing a party now? I turned slowly, took a sip. Just celebrating the vacation I wasn't invited to. Emma looked uncomfortable. Karen just glared. You're embarrassing yourself, Karen hissed. This isn't how family behaves. No, I said, stepping closer. Family doesn't post humiliating photos of each other online either, or smear them for grieving differently, or pretend their pain doesn't count because it doesn't fit the matching tote bag aesthetic, Jessica snapped. God, you're so bitter. You think a fancy room and a photo shoot makes up for being sad and alone? And right then something shifted in me. I smiled. A real one. No, I said, but it does make it easier to wave at you from above. And I did, turned to the edge, raised my glass, and waved. Right at their table far below, right where the photographer's camera caught it all. Karen lunged. I kid you not. She grabbed the champagne bottle off the table and threw it. At the ground, thankfully. It shattered, glass flying, people gasping. Security came running. Karen started sobbing, shouting about being disrespected, screaming, she ruined everything. They escorted them out. That's when I realized I wasn't angry anymore, not even smug, just light. I stood on that rooftop as the music picked back up and thought, this is the first time in years I've felt real, and I wasn't even close to done. Update 1. Okay, wow. Y'all are rabid, in the best way. I posted part of this story in a private travel group with a little video clip from the rooftop, and it leaked, big time. Like somehow someone synced it with the audio from Kill Bill, and now I'm a TikTok meme. I've been tagged in like 400 POV. You're the cousin who got uninvited reels. And you know what? I'm thriving. But let me back up, because some of y'all had questions like, did she really throw the champagne bottle? Yes, I still have the security report. And a small shard in my heel that I'll treasure forever like Cinderella's rage boot. Is Karen your actual aunt or some evil spirit possessing a Boca Raton realtor? To be determined. Why didn't you go full scorched earth and blast them online? Tempting. Especially after Karen tried to report my post for harassment and it backfired. She forgot her profile was public and people found everything, including her Real Moms Only Facebook event. But here's the tea. I didn't need to say anything. Once people saw the footage, Karen screaming, Jessica looking like she was about to cry over a spilled reputation, the internet did what it does best. Dragged them, thoroughly. One of my favorite comments was, you're not childless, you're Karenless. That's the real win. Top tier. And y'all, the DMs. Oh my God. I got messages from women I haven't seen since high school. People I barely knew saying they related, that they've been excluded, erased, overlooked because they didn't fit the mom mold. One woman said her sister skipped her wedding because she wouldn't understand motherhood yet. Another said she's been the family babysitter for years and still gets left out of girls' trips because she's single. It hit me hard. I thought I was alone in this weird in-between place. Not a mother, but not childless by choice either. Just existing in grief while everyone treats you like an emotional speed bump. But I'm not alone. Y'all reminded me of that. South. What now? Well, the resort offered me a free spa day as an apology for the drama. I took it, got a facial and a deep tissue massage that rearranged my soul. I also extended my trip by 2 days. Why rush back to real life when you can sip mango daiquiris and read spicy novels under a palm tree? As for Karen and the Mom Squad trademark, they tried to switch hotels. Didn't work. Everything was booked. So they're still here, lurking, whispering. I caught Jessica trying to accidentally bump into me at the breakfast buffet like we were on a soap opera. She dropped her spoon and said, must be nice to have nothing to do but vacation alone. I smiled and said, it is, especially when no one's asking me to wipe a nose or fake a laugh. She choked on her yogurt. Anyway, I'm laying low, but not too low, because I've got one last surprise for them. Let's just say Karen has a family photo tradition she never skips, and I might have talked to the photographer she hired. Stay tuned. I'm not done waving yet. The family photo shoot was scheduled for Friday at sunset. Every year, like clockwork, Karen hires a local photographer to do a matching dress, barefoot on the beach shoot, usually in whites and beiges, that we're effortlessly perfect aesthetic. They post the photos every Mother's Day with captions like, 3 generations of strong women, one blessed our girl mom, and it always makes me feel like a ghost haunting someone else's holiday. Not this year, because I found their photographer first. His name was Leo, early 30s, local, charming, and exactly the kind of person who picks up on tension before you say a word. I introduced myself as the family's missing piece and offered double his rate. Not to cancel the shoot. That would be too easy. I had something better in mind. Do me a favor, I said. When you take their photos, act totally normal. Be sweet, professional, whatever. But then, when you take the final set, ask if they want one with everyone. He blinked. Everyone? Yeah, me too. I'll be watching. Leo's smirk said it all. Oh, you want the chaos shot? Friday came. They all showed up on the beach in their gauzy white dresses, hair curled, fake laughing into the wind. Karen wore a crown of baby's breath like she was the fertility goddess of passive aggression. I watched from the tiki bar, not hiding, just waiting. And then, Leo gave the cue. Okay, let's do one big group shot. Get everyone in. Anyone missing? I timed it perfectly. Walked across the sand in a sapphire dress that shimmered like I'd summoned Poseidon himself. Hair down, anklets sparkling. The moment Karen saw me, her whole body stiffened like a heron spotting a threat. What is she doing here? Jessica hissed, already halfway to combusting. Leo raised his camera. She's part of the family, right? Karen's mouth opened, but Leo was already snapping. Click, click, click. They froze. I smiled. Emma, bless her, whispered, I think it's kind of iconic. Jessica shoved past me and stomped out of the frame, muttering something about not being part of this performative circus. Karen looked ready to scream but forced a frozen smile, probably realizing the optics. Click, click, one last shot. Me, standing next to Emma and Lauren, who both looked like they were in a hostage video. Karen in front, fake smiling like her entire uterus was clenching. And then I leaned down and whispered, Smile wide, Karen. This one's for next Mother's Day. She stormed off the beach. Leo turned to me after they scattered. That was art. Send me the raw files, I said, and maybe a few for Instagram. Black and white, emotional, with a caption like, some wounds never healed, but she smiled anyway. He laughed so hard he dropped his lens cap. That night, I posted one of the shots. No caption, just the photo. Me standing slightly off to the side, in color, while the rest of them looked pale, stiff, and distant. The comments exploded. Why does this look like a promo for a murder mystery where she's the only survivor? She's not the black sheep. She's the main character. Karen looks like she just found out brunch is canceled. But behind the jokes, people got it. They saw it. The years of exclusion, the quiet grief, the fight to reclaim space. And Karen? Oh, she saw it too. Because the next morning, she was pounding on my suite door, sobbing. But this time, I didn't open it. Karen didn't knock. She pounded. I heard it echo through the suite like a SWAT team had mistaken me for a drug cartel. And when I didn't answer, she yelled, not even my name, just this guttural, rage-drenched, you think this is funny? You think you're better than us now? I stood in the kitchen, quietly drinking the papaya juice Maribel had left that morning, letting her unravel on the other side of the door. I wasn't going to give her the stage. Not this time. Eventually the noise stopped. I assumed she'd left. She hadn't. 5 minutes later, I got a call from the front desk. Karen had gone down there and tried to file a formal complaint against me, claimed I was harassing her family, creating disturbances, and, I quote, orchestrating a public emotional ambush with photographic evidence. The resort manager asked if I wanted to press charges for the broken champagne bottle from earlier. I said no, not because I wanted to protect her, but because I wasn't interested in dragging this through legal mud. I had a better idea. Karen's entire identity revolved around being the respected matriarch, the together one, perfect host, flawless planner, the Instagram-wise mom queen. Her social media was a shrine to family unity, motherhood glamour, and a very curated version of reality. So I sent one of the rooftop photos, the one where she's in mid-scream, face twisted, hand pointing at me like she's calling for an exorcism, to a travel influencer account I follow. They'd been following the story quietly, DMing me like, girl, we need a sit-down interview. I didn't give them the whole scoop, just the photo, and a caption. When you crash the mom's-only family vacation in a presidential suite, and the aunt who excluded you isn't ready for your villain arc, they posted it, and it went viral. People dissected her face like it was the Zapruder film. Why is her rage so personal? She looks like she smelled her own hypocrisy. Give this woman an Emmy for public unraveling. Her followers started unfollowing. Some even commented, calling her out for hypocrisy, exclusion, and being a mean girl in a maxi dress. I thought that would be the end. It wasn't. Because later that night, while I was on the terrace sipping wine and watching the ocean do that thing where it glows under the moonlight, Jessica stormed in. Not knocked, not asked, stormed in. Apparently, someone at the front desk told her I hadn't pressed charges, so she took that as an invitation. "You're ruining her life," she shouted, eyes puffy from what I assumed were crocodile tears that had finally dried up. I didn't say anything, just stared at her. "She hasn't eaten. She's crying constantly. She thinks you've poisoned everyone against her." I raised an eyebrow. "You mean by telling the truth?" Jessica clenched her fists. "You've embarrassed us." And that was when I snapped. "You embarrassed yourselves. You decided I didn't count. You told me I wasn't a real mom. You laughed behind my back and humiliated me publicly. And when I refused to disappear, you broke things, stalked me, and now you're in my hotel room. So yeah, Jessica, you're right. I am ruining the illusion, because that's all it ever was." She opened her mouth to speak. I pointed to the door. She left. The door clicked shut and I felt my whole body relax. No guilt, no shaking, just a cold clarity I hadn't felt in years. I had no kids. But in that moment, I had peace. And I was keeping it. Update 2. Okay, so y'all remember how I said Karen was unraveling? Well, she didn't just unravel. She detonated. It happened the night before checkout. The resort had this farewell bonfire thing on the beach. Music, fire dancers, s'mores, the whole tropical send-off vibe. I almost skipped it. I'd had enough chaos for 1 week. But Maribel convinced me, "You should go. Be seen. Let them see you happy." So I did. Wore my favorite white linen jumpsuit, hair in beachy waves, just enough glow from the wine and petty satisfaction to feel invincible. That's when I saw Karen. She was standing near the bar, drink in hand, surrounded by a few pitying tourists who didn't know the full story. She had that look, like she was about to give a toast at someone else's wedding, and that's exactly what she tried to do. Karen grabbed the mic from the acoustic guitarist mid-song. No warning. The music cut out with a twang. "I just want to say something," she slurred, fake smiling at the crowd. "About family, about what it means to be a real mother." I froze. People looked around, confused. Some chuckled awkwardly. Jessica was off to the side, literally mouthing, "Oh my God, no." Karen swayed a bit. "Some people think motherhood is just about biology or grief or whatever makes you feel special. But being a real mom, it's about showing up, about sacrifice. Not about sweets and sabotage and being petty on the internet." Someone cut her mic. The guitarist gently took it back and said, "All right, folks, let's hear it for the fire dancers." Applause erupted, partly from relief. Karen stood there, blinking, as the music resumed. She looked like she'd just been unplugged from her ego. And then she turned, saw me, stormed across the sand. "You win, okay?" she hissed. "Is that what you wanted? To make me look like a monster? To turn my daughters against me?" I looked at her, really looked. And for the first time, I didn't feel rage, just emptiness. "You did that all by yourself," I said. She opened her mouth, closed it, stared at me like she was waiting for me to comfort her. I didn't. I just walked away. The next morning, I checked out early, left a tip and a thank you note for Maribel, blocked Karen and Jessica, didn't say goodbye. But before I left, I slid something under Karen's door. A copy of our chaos photo. The one from the beach. Me radiant. Them tight-lipped and hollow. I'd written one thing on the back. "You taught me that blood doesn't always mean belonging. Thank you for setting me free." That was 3 weeks ago. Back home now. My inbox is still full of messages. Some from cousins I hadn't heard from in years, apologizing. Others from strangers, thanking me for putting words to the grief of invisible women. I'm not saying I've healed completely, but damn, I'm not hiding anymore. I don't know what kind of mom I would have been, but I do know this. I won't spend another second trying to earn love from people who withhold it like it's currency. Karen can keep her tote bags. I've got peace, papaya juice, and the best damn revenge arc I never asked for. And next year, I'm booking the suite again. Solo. But this time, I'm bringing a tripod. Coming home was weird. You'd think after everything, the drama, the rooftop moment, the bonfire mic drop, I'd feel victorious, like I'd stepped off the plane in slow motion with sunglasses on and theme music playing. But honestly, it was quiet. Too quiet. The silence wasn't empty, though. It was full. Full of all the things I didn't have to carry anymore. The weight of trying to belong. The invisible ache of being left out over and over and pretending it didn't gut me. I dropped my bag inside my apartment, sank into the couch, and just exhaled. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for a call, an apology, an explanation. I wasn't hoping they'd see me differently or come around. I was just done. And then came the emails. Lauren sent the first one. Subject line, "I didn't know." She wrote about how she'd always gone along with Karen's narrative because it was easier. About the time I missed her engagement party because no one told me the date had changed. And how she let Karen say I'd flaked. She apologized for being a bystander. Said she thought I was strong enough not to need support. And she was sorry she let that excuse her silence. I didn't reply. Not yet. Then Emma reached out. Hers was shorter. Just a voice memo, actually. Her voice cracked halfway through. I always thought you were the cool cousin. I hated that we made you feel like an outsider. If you ever want to get a drink and talk, I'll listen. Jessica didn't say a word, but she unfollowed Karen. South. That was something. And Karen? Oh, Karen tripled down. She started telling the extended family I hacked her social media, claimed I faked the beach photo, said I was mentally unstable and obsessed with tearing the family apart. But guess what? No one believed her, because someone, I'm guessing Lauren, leaked screenshots of the Facebook Real Moms Only group Karen created for planning the trip. And the opening post? We're keeping it exclusive this year. No childless drama, just real mothers. Less hormones, less jealousy, less tension. You know who I mean. Yeah? She didn't even try to hide it. The comments lit up like fireworks. A few distant relatives chimed in, some defending, some furious. A second cousin I haven't spoken to in years sent me a message saying, "Didn't realize how toxic she was. You handled it with class. Proud of you." Class? Huh. I don't know if that's the word I'd use, but I'll take it. Because here's the thing they never got. Excluding someone doesn't erase them. It sharpens them, makes them bolder, braver, louder. And when you build your identity on making others feel small, you crumble the second they stand tall. So yeah, I'm home. I'm still single, still childless, still carrying grief like a quiet passenger in my chest. But I'm not ashamed of it anymore. I'm not hiding. And if that makes me the family villain, I'll wear the crown. It was a rainy Thursday when the knock came. Not loud, not Karen style, just hesitant. Like whoever was on the other side wasn't sure they deserved to be there. I opened the door and there she was, Lauren, soaked through, holding a sad little umbrella that had given up halfway, makeup smudged, clutching a brown paper bag like it was her ticket to redemption. "Hey," she said, eyes puffy. I didn't know if you'd answer. I didn't say anything, just stepped aside. She walked in, dripping on the welcome mat, and held out the bag. "I brought Thai, from that place you used to love. You, posted about it once, like forever ago." It hit me weirdly hard that she remembered. We sat on the couch, containers between us, and ate in silence for a few minutes. She barely touched hers. I waited, and then she broke. Like really broke. "I knew she was cruel," Lauren said, voice shaking. "I just didn't know how much. Or maybe I did and didn't want to look at it, because if I admitted it, I'd have to admit I let it happen." I kept my eyes on the floor, let her unravel, let her feel it. "I was there when you told her about your miscarriage," she said quietly. "I was there. You were crying and she just said, 'Everything happens for a reason,' and started talking about Emma's baby shower. I saw it, and I didn't say a word. That was the thing. The part that always gutted me. Not just the cruelty, but the complicity, the silence, the way they all looked the other way." Lauren looked up at me, eyes brimming. "I'm so sorry. Not just for that. For all of it. For the whispers, for the comments, for not inviting you, for pretending your grief didn't count.